this year. 125 mass shootings.
That's crazy.
Because what we used to be classified as the greatest country in the world is now a laughingstock to the rest of the world. The knock-on effect of the trauma is infinite. Really.
I think in order to do this, both parties would have to come together unanimously. But you'd think something as big as this would unite them, given the consequences of having guns in society, which is these mass shootings.
Music concerts and extortionate ticket prices.
Drake, average ticket price 600. Kanye West 115. The Weeknd 350. Taylor Swift $2,500.
There's an element of greed there.
Sorry, if you could make 4 mil versus 600 mil, it's probably quite hard to say, yeah, I'll just make 4 mil.
Prison sentences seem so lenient towards people like paedophiles.
You worked in education, you had a position of authority, your role was protect the children, and you were found with indecent images.
In the grand scheme of criminality, is heinous, is one of the worst. It's just like... I'm gonna kick it off with, unfortunately, not a very good situation, but one that we've all heard time and time again. You never thought growing up like this would be something that happened, such a regular occurrence.
It's crazy how almost like normal it's become.
So normalized. There used to be a documentary called, it was like basically the first ever school shooting, Columbine. And that was such a big thing because it was very unique, and it was a school shooting, which is like, and that was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And ever since then, there's been loads. So.
I actually heard a crazy quote, statistic. It just like, I think it's like since Columbine, I think it's over 350,000 school children have experienced a school shooting, not being murdered, but they were at the school.
Yeah.
350,000.
That's a load. Yeah, I've got some stats. I'm going to read you the facts here. So there's been over 125 mass shootings this year.
And as of today, it's March 30th.
Yeah, as of today, it's March 30th. We've had 3 months. 74 people have been killed or injured by guns at American schools this year. That's quite a lot to be killed while you're at school. And so the most recent one that happened this week was in Nashville, where 6 people were killed. 3 school teachers aged 60 to 61 and 3 little 9-year-old children. Just reading one of the news articles, and it's just so harrowing when you see like just small framed human being was filled with so much innocence, you know, to be killed based off something that we could probably never comprehend or understand. Like, I don't get the necessity to, I don't know why there's popularity in going into children's schools and killing children.
So that's it. It's like, where is this? Well, we know, like, where does it come from, and why has it become so almost sensationalized within people that are, well, mentally unwell? To do something like that, you cannot be mentally stable.
That's it.
And it's like within that community, it's almost become like, what's the word? Like martyrdom, or like
it's on par with martyrdom. Yeah, like it's like you go out in a blaze of glory, a bit like a
remembered.
hero.
Whatever you're remembered for, at least you're remembered. You know, man, it's scary. Like that video where he's walking through the school corridor with that big rifle. I just seen a clip of it, like walking towards the door. He's got this big rifle.
Yeah,
it's such like a vulnerable environment at school. I mean, it's kids and teachers.
It's a private school that was full of religion. Somewhere you think you would be safe.
Was it religiously motivated, like anti-religion? Or
I don't think it was anti-religion. The motive's not quite clear. I've heard in the next few days they're going to release a, what do you call it, when someone writes something about off the back, manifesto. Yeah. So they're going to release.
Why do they all have fucking manifestos?
Because they think they got a point to prove. But I can't remember. The only manifesto that's ever been glorified is Mein Kampf, isn't it? Or remembered, so to speak. I think this one was, this person was transgender. So I think they were going through transitioning, or they changed their gender. I can't remember which one they originally were. And I don't know if they got kicked out of that school or if there was some sort of vendetta or what. But during my like search to see, you know, why are they so glorified or why are they so popular? That's what I was trying to do today and this week, was like correlate information to try and see, why is it a thing? Why is it a thing? And I think there's so many different avenues you can look at. It's obviously the gun control is pathetic, and the regulations behind that.
Yeah, the ease of access to weapons like that.
Mm-hmm. So it's actually said the person who done this Nashville school shooting had bought 7 guns legally and had loads of guns in their house. There's also you have like mental health issues, but America have mental health agencies. I just obviously don't know how accessible they are. And what was the one I thought that was really good? There's obviously media fame, isn't there? Like you become a somebody almost instantly. You become a somebody before that day is finished. If you go up to a school and shoot it, everyone's speaking about it. Everyone knows your name.
Yeah, it's like you're being remembered no matter what you're remembered for. At least you're remembered. It's like that kind of mentality.
I always find with America, through the news, we see like a perspective of mine is they got such a disregard for human life. I don't think a lot of them don't see the uniqueness and like individuality and just kind of it's special to be alive, you know. Not everyone's granted that privilege, and they learn with. We're not going to go into wars and all that, but it's just like I don't know. They don't have that means of like respect for human life. It looks.
I think as well, like a gun is such a deadly weapon. It's like, is it necessary to have something like that in this day and age? Handgun, even a handgun, like I still don't understand that. It's like I need it's almost like it's usually the protection argument, but then the counter is, but then you've got more people with guns, so the likelihood of needing to protect yourself is higher because everybody has guns.
Exactly. You're always on that high alert as well if you think you need to be ready to go.
Yeah.
Like obviously times have changed. When these rules were put in place, however many hundreds of years ago, the society was a completely different atmosphere, a different environment to be around. I mean, we know that it's protection for against the government, against militias, against radicalized people.
But like, aren't we past that? Like,
yes,
surely we've got to be past that. And almost it's like you're inviting that kind of energy. If you're walking around with a gun, you know, even if you're a normal citizen, you're almost like inviting trouble or inviting that kind of energy. It's like you say, you're always on edge, always on high alert. You know you've got a gun in your pocket that within a second you could use to protect yourself. So you're always watching, looking around, and that everybody's like that. And then it's just
who's got a gun, who hasn't?
You don't know that.
You don't know. You would always kind of be on edge.
Yeah.
Just as
I'm so glad that guns aren't a thing where I live.
So am I. I knew someone who moved to America and they came back.
Really?
Yeah, and I said, "Why'd you come back?" And they're like, "Oh, did you enjoy it?" He said, "I hated it. I used to get off the bus and just sprint home, and I'd just stay indoors because I used to be so scared. I didn't know anyone. And it was like a rough place, so I just thought I'd be best off coming home because I wasn't happy. So they came back here.
I'd love to get to speak to an American, somebody that is pro-gun, and like to really like a normal, not like a extreme pro-gun lobbyist, like an everyday person who's for guns, and just like actually understand it from their perspective.
Yeah, it can hold like a rational
conversation. It's not like criticism. It's just like help me understand it, because it's like you're a product of your environment. If we were both born in America, there's a high chance that one of us, if not both of us, would be pro-gun. Yeah, because it's like so in the culture. So it's like
that's it, isn't it? America's a very like patriarchal sort of country with a lot of traditionalism in it, and they don't like change in that sort of aspect.
Yeah, man. What do they do? Like, where does it go from? Like, I feel like we might have even had this. I think we've discussed this on the podcast before. You know, when there was another school shooting. Like, what do they do? What can they do?
Yeah, I know.
What's the population of America?
The safeguarding has to be amplified, and it just doesn't seem to be. How are people still walking into schools and then lighting it up 4, 5, or 10 minutes before police arrive? Obviously, that's a good response time in terms of like the police responding, but how are they getting in the first place? How are they just walking in when you know full well of the dangers?
What do you do though? Like, can they put a policeman at every school? It's like, how do they like you saying before? We would start the pod about making an example of people, and like, how do they stop this kind of like a trend, I would say, like a trend between people for people that are mentally unwell. How many school shootings was it this year?
This year, 125 mass shootings.
That's crazy.
Not school, but mass shootings.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about the actual number.
But it's like, how do they stop it, you know? Is there a way to, like, preempt it? Like, what are these people searching? Or are they in online forums? Are they, like, Googling stuff that they shouldn't be before it? Cause it's getting a bit, like...
It's gotten...
I think the world's looking at them like, what are you doing?
Exactly. Because you're just perpetuating it, it seems. You haven't been able to put a halt on it. It's like, what's next? You know, what's the bottom line? You think one school shooting would make everyone... Well, it happened in the UK. Yeah. And it happened in Australia.
I'd say Australia, yeah. They did... So I was actually reading about it. There's like a... The way they did it was a buyback, so an authorised buyback where they didn't ban guns completely. I think they said these guns are now illegal. If you have those guns, you can bring them to us. We'll buy them back off you for the market rate. And I think it accounted for about 20% of the guns in circulation. They did that. And they also did like an amnesty. If you have illegal guns, you can bring them to us. There'll be no charges. We'll just confiscate them. And I think it worked pretty well. Homicides and suicides dropped significantly.
Exactly.
But it's a smaller country, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Smaller population.
Well, they've not really had any mass shootings since.
Yeah.
And now the only place you can buy a gun is off the black market. And there's not going to be no imbecile with mental health issues being able to rock up to the black market and saying, give me a gun. I mean, it's just not like that. And it's the same with the UK, I think. I don't know if it was Dunblane or somewhere where there was a school shooting. It was an actual school shooting in the UK that changed the gun laws forever, and we've hardly ever had a mass shooting since.
Do you think there's still an argument for like protection against terrorists, domestic and foreign? This whole like, if they take our guns, you know, we're not going to be able to protect ourselves from a rogue government, because we've talked a few times about governments being abusive of power, where that side's going. So, do they have a good argument? Not necessarily a good argument.
Yeah.
Any merit in their argument.
I understand their point. I just think they are past that as a society. Jim Jeffries has the best joke on it ever, and it's basically like we're well past the stage of, you know, muskets, where I've got a musket, you're the government, Ben, you've got a musket, let's go head to head. Do you know what I mean? Oh, well, I need my musket to stick up for myself. It's like, if you're the government and you want to come at me, you've got all the weapons you want in the world. Ain't no AR-15 or assault rifle going to be able to stop you from nuking me, dropping bombs on me, gassing me, doing governmental things that I could never have the ability to do. So I don't have the warfare, I don't have the materials.
Shutting down your internet, shutting down your electricity.
There you go.
Like, weapons you could never even...
Not letting me out the street. Tanks. It's endless what a government can now do to its people. So for the right to bear arms because I want to protect myself if things go west, that's kind of out the window due to how far advanced we are now. Societal. And I don't know, with Americans, there just seems to be like a void of empathy. You know, what's the bottom line? It's like, you've just seen 20 kids get slaughtered. 10 kids get slaughtered a month later.
Yeah.
And slaughtered, you know, assault rifles, which are literally in the title are for assaults. Got nothing to do with defense. So I know it's not as easy as, but then they're a paranoid fucking country, aren't they?
I think they are, and I think it's not in like a state at the minute. I think they're at each other's throats in terms of opposing political parties at the minute.
That's it.
Anti-Trump still a big thing. I think he's running again. Republicans are anti-Biden because he's senile. So to get them to, I think in order to do this, both parties would have to come together unanimously. But you'd think something as big as this would unite them. It's a common cause to save people from like such a tragic death. And it's like, it's not even, obviously you've got the kids, but you've got their families that are left behind. You know, they drop their kids off at school that day and then get a call or see on the news shooting in Nashville. Shit, my kid goes to school. It's my kid's school. Fuck. And then they find out it's their fucking kid.
Yeah. The knock-on effect of the trauma is infinite, really.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I've seen some photos from a news article, and it's like parents that were picking up their kids and taking them out, you know. So the parents that were getting there, right, my kid's not being killed, that's one relief. Two, I'm going to go grab her, and they're just crying their eyes out with him, because that 30 minutes or 40, 50 minutes where you're driving to the school unknown, whether your child has been like pulverized by bullets, you would just be in agony, and you'd never let them out of your sight again. So I wanted to find out if there's been like a rise or amplification in sort of homeschooling in America, because I don't know if I'd be sending my kid to school at this rate.
You're so right, yeah. I imagine there is. There'll be a huge decline. I bet even over the next couple of weeks, a huge decline in people's attendance at school. People considering, right, what's the crime statistics now where my kids go to school, because it's the mental health statistics, you know, people are going to be on edge, like it's a bit paranoid.
I also saw body cam footage of the two police officers that eliminated, if you want to call it that, the target, the girl that was killing
Was
everyone.
it a girl this time, was it?
It was like a girl transitioning into a boy.
Oh, yes.
But the intensity and the adrenaline surrounded by what they had to do, you know, going into this school, clearing out rooms because they didn't know where this person was. Room number 1, 2 police officers. I've got behind the door. And the minute they found her, they just told her, yeah, like, keep your hand away from you. And then I don't know if she moved or something, but I think they got a couple more shots while that person was on the floor. And I just thought, poor men to say, right, you know, right, you got to head over to a school. And there's bodies on the floor there, like, having to basically step over because they had a job to do, you know?
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's just unfathomable in the world that we live in.
We're so far detached from it that I don't think we'd ever even like get close to trying to almost comprehend what that would be like.
Yeah, we really couldn't. We are so far detached from it.
Think about like there's like 350,000. I think 350,000 children have experienced a school shooting. Imagine what their lives are like. Imagine you've got to go to school 2 weeks later, the same school where, you know, a killing's gone down like that, and then that fear in the back of your head all throughout school.
That little wanker that pops open his quavers.
Shit.
The PTSD strikes you back, and then you're throwing up. I'll be popping Chris all the time. Yeah,
but it's brutal, mate, and it's like you've got to live with that now. It's like this constant, just like fight or flight mode at school in a place where you're there just to learn.
Literally.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, it says here, since 1899, 495 million guns have been produced or imported into the USA. So over the last 150 years, roughly.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And how many people live in America? Ain't it like 200 million?
I'm not sure.
Let's have a look. So it's 331 million.
Crazy. So more than one gun per person.
Yeah, by a bit.
Yeah, man, it's a shame. I don't know, like, how many more of these it's going to take for them to do something. There's other countries that have done what America needs, well, what we think America needs to do. Like I say, I would love to get speak to somebody and understand it from their perspective. I don't see the argument of like needing protection against government still valid in this day and age, but maybe I'm just ignorant.
Right, I know. It is a shame because what we used to be classified as the greatest country in the world, there's now a laughingstock to the rest of the world. Over the course of the last 10, 20, 30 years, you know, the geopolitical antics that they've got up to, the school shootings that happen on a daily basis, the politics they can't seem to wrap their heads around, the arguments with all the other presidents, the stepping on people's toes, the poverty, the drug rise,
the media, the way they handled with COVID.
The way they handle COVID, exactly, right? And there was somebody who was once looked at as, you know, they're known worldwide. I mean, they produce all the movie stars, all the rock stars, all the best bands in the world. They amplified all the technological advances. They helped spearhead that. They what else was I gonna say? Yeah, like media and stuff like that. They were at the forefront of so much, right? And now it's just like it's like planet Earth and America.
Yeah. How bad does it have to get? Is this the beginning of the end of America?
some redneck watching this Clubhouse podcast saying, "I'ma kill that boy if I ever see him." I mean, so I don't know. We're not. Yeah, we are slagging them off a little bit, but
I think it
fucking
comes from a
deserve it.
place of like, I don't know. Like I said, it's you're a product of your environment. Yeah, so having not grown up around guns and not ever seen the need to have a gun, and also not experienced these horrific events, school shootings, mass shootings in our lifetime, and be okay. It just like it's hard to comprehend why you would think you would need guns, given the consequences of having guns in society, which is these mass shootings. I think it was like I can't remember the period it was over, but let's say it was like for 2-year period, America had 400. It was mass shootings by countries. America had 400, and the next country, the second highest country was like 8 in comparison to America, which was like 400.
Yeah,
which is just insane.
so they stand alone by a margin that's just deplorable.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll move on from that. But if anyone's listening to this and has any knowledge on that sort of like subject, just drop a little comment and try to get involved and tell us something that maybe we're missing. Because it's interesting, isn't it? And it's and we'll be doing another one next month. You all know that anyway. The next school shooting happens. Next one, yes. I'm going to try to stay calm for this next one instead of fucking ranting.
This is a touchy subject for you.
I hate it, man. It's music concerts and extortionate ticket prices.
I was watching, I was on YouTube and a video came up of Matt Healy from 1975.
Yeah.
And there's 2 clips I've seen of him. One is ticket prices, and 2 is paid meet and greets for fans. So that brings us on to the topic of, how much concert tickets are these days.
Yes.
How much artists are making, or some artists are making. I've got some stats here for you. And also, like, for doing paid meet and greets with fans, ethical or not ethical. So, over to you. Average price of a ticket in the US was $119, 2022.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
For a country riddled with poverty, right?
And that's the average price. So that's a mean in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Some artists are much higher.
And it's like that, why, right? So the consensus I was trying to grasp, I was thinking, so tickets get released through venues. Then they get bought in bulk by like bots and that's, I think, because the bots have them all, and then they go on resale websites for a lot more money. But during that time period, it's normally cut so short, like within a day or two, that fans have to wait in queues. They miss out on opportunities to get regular prices. They still want to go. They say, well, fuck it, I'll just pay for the higher up price, which I've done at least 20 times in my life. Extortionate amounts. I've got a few. And I've gone through it right now. Yesterday, I had to sell tickets because I couldn't go to an event, and I've got all the statistics here. They chuck on booking fees, they chuck on loads of other different sort of fees. But anyway, and people still want to see it. So it's like turned into like you need to be rich and famous now. No, sorry, not famous. You need to be rich or well off to be able to go watch a music concert that you enjoy.
Yeah, that's what Matt Healy says. He's like, it's putting music behind a paywall so that only like well-off kids can go see a concert and then think, I want to start a band, I want to be in a band, I want to learn guitar, I want to do this. He's like, now that kind of experience is for well-off people, middle class and above. So it's become unattainable.
And I think a lot of those people aren't the sort of people that, want to start bands now. They just want to go watch a popular band, record it, maybe put it on their fucking social medias. And half of them don't care, do you know what I mean? And the real fans are just like left behind, or they're stuck in the rafters because they've had to pay 90 quid to fucking sit near the roof.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. And I think it could be easily resolved. You just ban resale. Mass resale. So like, if, for example, like you bought tickets and can't go, then obviously you should be able to resell them. But you shouldn't have companies that can buy tickets in bulk, resell them at a huge profit, which then just drives prices up.
Yeah, because the demand's still there. So what they need to do is take an approach a bit like Glastonbury. Everything's digitalized. You can have you can have all the other stuff to just say, this ticket belongs to you. Here's your photo, right? If this isn't you when you rock up to the door, you're not getting in. Okay, right. Well, I can't go anymore, so I don't want to lose tickets. So what do? I'll give it back to where I bought it from. This should
And
be
they resell
refundable, and they resell it at the same price. Give me my money back at the same price. There's all these loopholes and all these just taking your marbles away one by one, like without you noticing all these flaws that just seem so inappropriate that almost seem like a con, like a modern day con of stealing money off poor people. It's highly infuriating.
So listen to this then. So Taylor Swift, I think, is one of the most successful artists. Guess how much she earned? Forbes previously reported last year that the singer-songwriter is estimated to earn an eye-watering. How many millions do you think she made from touring in 2022?
Don't know. She's a superstar as well. 10 mil?
Mate, you're gonna
hundreds.
620 million.
Really?
She's reported to earn between 3 and 4 million per concert.
Wow.
Sorry, that's her cut of what they make. She gets to keep 50 to 60% of the revenue guaranteed. 50 to 60% of the revenue is guaranteed to be paid to Taylor Swift. It's safe to say she earns around 3 to 4 million per concert.
Jesus Christ.
It's insane. It's crazy money. They're doing they're selling out arenas and stuff. So it's could have a capacity of 70,000 people, and the ticket prices are insane.
So I've actually seen that pop up on a lot of artist videos to say, like, if I didn't do my touring, I wouldn't make money. Spotify don't give me royalties or not enough to make a living off of. Neither do any of the other stuff. It's merchandise and touring that apparently if you're a working artist or traveling artist or whatever, then that's what you need to do.
This is it. Like, let's be honest, when's the last time, you're probably more so than me, but I've not bought an album of a new artist. I've only bought old vinyls. I haven't bought like a CD or a vinyl of a new band in like 5-6 years. So there's no money coming in from that. Spotify's pay per stream, and it's like a fraction of what the album sales would have been.
The digitalization of music has completely changed it, and it changed how artists get to benefit from the profits. But
so I actually went on to is it Viagogo?
Oh yeah, well I've got a little story about those wankers.
So I just went on before, and the starting price for a basic ticket for Taylor Swift was $500.
So which 14-year-old girl's got to spare $500?
And get on this, sorry. So the Spotify's most streamed artist in the US in 2022, right? Drake, Taylor Swift, Bad Bunny, Kanye West, The Weeknd. Average ticket prices. So from basic to VIP, meet the guest and all that. So Drake, average ticket price $600. I'm going to go Bad Bunny, average ticket price $225. Kanye West $115. The Weeknd $350. Taylor Swift $2,500 on the resale market. That is insane, and it comes from SeatGeek and Ticket IQ. She's like a superstar. The thing is, the fans are paying it, which is crazy. $2,500 to go see Taylor Swift.
They don't deserve that though. It's such a kick in the teeth to the working class. It used to be an expense that was looked forward to. Do you know?
It wasn't a budget breaker to go and watch it.
It wasn't a budget breaker. It was a nice night out, right? I've got a lot of books, like Nirvana, Green Day, right, and they're well put together, like memorabilia books. And you open it up, it's got fake tickets, fake posters that were once upon a time real, right? But they're just little copies. 50p, £1, £2. Watch Nirvana with Pixies opening up tonight for £2 and that. And you go, obviously they weren't, I don't know, like obviously times have changed and there's inflation and everything, but there's also being ripped off. And for reasons that are just unexplainable. So I will explain to you something that has happened to me recently. So I was drunk, unfortunately, and I bought 2 tickets to go watch a member of Pink Floyd in Amsterdam because I knew I was going to Amsterdam. Because I was drunk, it was a couple of days after I got back from Amsterdam. So I can't watch it basically because I'm not there. So anyway, I because I was steaming, I didn't go on the venue. I just went straight onto Viagogo. I paid for 2 tickets, right? The price per ticket, they were 144 euros each. When I went to pay, it was 350 euros altogether. So I bought 2 tickets, 144 euros. That comes to 289. The booking fee was 43 euros 44 cents. Then I had a handling fee, which I don't know how that deters from a booking fee, and that was 6 euros. Then I had a VAT fee, and that was 9 euros. So that brought the total charge to 350 euros. I told Viagogo I can't come. They said we don't take refunds. They said, all right, no worries, whatever. So I had a few weeks to sell them. So I put them back on Viagogo, 300 euros, 150 each. So no one bought it. So I was like, we're getting closer to the event now. If no one buys it, you have a cut-off date, right? Can't sell them. So I kept bringing it down. I sold each ticket yesterday for 50 euros each.
Wow.
So I lost 250 euros because I wanted to go see someone I couldn't. And I just... So yeah, I got fucked over like that. But don't get me wrong, I paid £800 for 2 Redden tickets because Redden is sold out. And I wanted to pay for my brother, so that's 400 each. Me and Tomo and Joe, we went and watched Clapton at Hyde Park.
Yeah.
That was $1,000 for 3 of us because they were sold out. It's just extortion. And do you know where we're fucking standing?
Behind a big
behind a big pillar in like towards the back, man. And we paid like $1,000. And it's just like, I pay for it because I want to go. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to miss him. Time's going very fast. A lot of people are getting old. People aren't going to be around anymore. And a night and a day out of watching live music of people you adore is just one of the best days out ever for me. But so I'm going to pay the money, but it shouldn't be that way.
I think that's the problem. People pay the money.
Yeah, that is
So they do
half the problem.
And like, how many hands are in the pot? You know, like you've got the artists, but then you've got managers, agents, tour promoters. Why don't we charge this for a ticket? You know, if we charge this for a ticket over the 12 months, we're going to make an extra. So, like, how much is it? It's down to the artist versus the management company or whoever runs the tour.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. It's like, yeah, if the people are paying it, why wouldn't they? But that Matt Healy, he's like dead set against it. He's like, tickets are like 40 quid. Shouldn't be any more than that. Because like if you look at that, yeah, Taylor Swift's making 3-4 million per concert. Let's say she's doing three a week. Let's say, is that pretty conservative? If you're on tour, you're usually every other night.
Yeah, it's vigorous. Yeah,
it's full on. So even let's say conservative, she's doing 3 a week, yeah, and she's only making 3 million at a concert. 9 mil per week. She could take $1 mil per week. She could take 100 grand a week and still be like, you know, live a good life. 100 grand a week, 400 grand a month, 5 mil a year, yeah, 4.8 mil a year. And she'd be, she could then pass that back on to the fans. But
that's a good point, yeah. That is a really good point.
Do you know what I mean?
There's an element of greed there.
Greed. Like, who needs to make, $620 million in a year? Am I being naive, though? You know,
Well,
if you could make 4 mil versus 600 mil, do you think it's going to be it's probably quite hard to say, yeah, I'll just make 4 mil. You probably got a little bit inside you that's going to say, take the 600.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, once they're living that sort of lifestyle, get disassociated from where they came from or your average Joe. I mean, we're ants to them lot, man. To Hollywood.
It's a tough one.
We're nobody to Hollywood. I always think of this revolutionary idea, and it's probably going to be really stupid. I think about it with other things quite a lot. You know, like, what would happen, right? I need you to help me out because I don't know. It's going to be fucking very idiotical. If accumulatively, everyone got together and stopped paying those charges. Like, I was thinking this at the time, you know, with like how expensive all the housing is. So say it's like 400 grand over here for a 1-bedroom house, which is astronomical and pathetic. If every single person said, nobody buy a house, right? Let's get together, make a decision as a society. No one's buying a new house until you lower the prices. No houses are getting bought, yeah? Who does that affect? And is it plausible?
But it's not like the government setting the prices. It's supply and demand. So it's like...
So, yeah, but there'll be no demand.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it would inevitably lower the prices in that. But at some point, somebody you can't not buy a house, because it's like it's almost like you'd have to get everyone to agree not to not buy houses, but to agree to lower the prices by 50% across all properties.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I thought the downfall would be. No matter how many people you got to agree, there would always be a rich person that would do it anyway, and then you'd just miss out.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think it's logistically like,
But
but it's an interesting idea.
It is, because the same goes with this, right? So if say you said we're buying not a single person buy a ticket to no fucking concerts. Boycott.
So it does work. It's a thing.
A boycott.
It's just not.
That's the literal definition of what I'm trying to
do. Like 100%. If you boycott where nobody does it, I don't.
Everyone would have to change.
Yeah.
Then Taylor Swift's not earning $9 million a year. Let's do it. She's not earning $9 million a week. She's not. Fuck. What? How do we get him? So I'm not earning 600 mil, but I need at least 100 mil. What's the way around it? I'll lower my ticket prices, and we'll just start doing that for everything. Why is this Fred?
But this is that whole argument about being a conscious consumer. And like buying products, there's obviously the price element, but products like that, maybe when we talked about, was it Cobalt, stuff like that, and it's like it comes back to that. If people pay it, the market sets the price. So if people are willing to pay it, companies will price it where people are willing to pay it. So yeah, it is. It's like you're your own worst enemy in that,
Yeah, you are.
You go to these concerts, you buy into it, and then you set the tone like, yeah, people are paying it, so let's price it up.
But where does it stop? Because could it get to a point, do you think, where we can't afford it anymore? A lot of people, or if it is just for the working class, the rich, sorry.
So I think that's what happens. Like when there's a depression and that, prices will slowly be reined back in. Like house prices are slowing right down because the interest rate's going up. So as we go through this, prices tend to come more in line with. They have to, like you say, people don't have the money to spend on concerts, so the only way people are going to get them to go to concerts is lower the price. So, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't come all the way back. Do you know what I mean? To like a reasonable level. It just slows down a little bit until people start earning a bit more money, have a bit more disposable income, then it just goes straight back up.
It's a fucking cycle.
God cycle, yeah. It's. But yeah, I was shocked when I looked into how much. I picked on Taylor Swift, but I don't think she's a rare. She's like obviously the most successful, but I think like these big artists when they go on tour.
And small guys don't have the ability to make it. I think it's like a dying sort of career to go into.
To be a musician?
Yeah. Or it's really, really hard.
Do you? Or do you think a lot of people are blowing up on TikTok and Instagram? In that they're building a big following through sharing their content online, their songs, and then going to record labels saying, I've got 1 million, 2 million followers on TikTok, sign me. And they've obviously got a bit of clout, so they're more likely to get signed.
Yeah, I think that works for now, but I also think that's going to de-escalate at some point as well. The only reason I thought that, and I was thinking this the other day, is that like people used to have blue ticks for like anomalies, right? Loads of people do. It's like you have to just be ephemeral sort of fame, just short fame, and you can have a blue tick. So it's like, if millions of people have blue ticks, there's nothing special about them anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously, it makes you some sort of famous, but like we've got a blue tick, and we're small time. Clubhouse.
Do it?
No, we don't.
Nah. How'd you get one? How many?
I think basically you just ask Instagram, but it depends on like where you're from. If we were to ask them, say, look, we have a popular podcast, we're a small community, but we're island. Obviously, we're not that at the moment, but that's all I think it would take.
I've seen on Twitter you can pay for them that way.
Oh, there you go.
You buy a blue tick.
Oh, well, there you go. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's nothing, but yeah, no, there is a lot of people that get famous musically off of the internet.
Yeah,
but it's like, it's ephemeral fame. You're famous for a week and someone comes out with another catchy song and then you're not anymore. TikTok's a crazy one. I've not looked into it, but we should do it one episode because they're changing like the music charts at the moment and stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. I watched there was 2 guys that came out. One wrote a song about his dad who got cancer, and he wrote a song about it. His dad survived in the end, but it blew up on TikTok. And he does a little short. He's seen a short, and he's like, my career was pretty. I was a struggling musician, never really kind of I'd had some success, but not like amazing success. Done a little bit of touring, but I was pretty unknown. He put this song out on TikTok, and it just went viral. Reignited his touring, ticket sales, out on tour all the time, all through TikTok. And then there's another guy who just had like a song that just went completely viral, and then he got signed by an agency. So
I like those stories.
Yeah, man, it's like, that's the one thing like that when we've gotten into this. It's like, if you think about the traditional model of getting signed by a label, yeah, it's probably about who you know, yeah, and then you've got to kind of, within like let's say a 20-minute audition, sell yourself to these music execs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then even then, if you do that, once you're on the label, yeah, they usually put all their money and effort behind the top performing acts anyway. And these little acts are left to kind of struggle. Think about TikTok, Instagram. You can build your own following. You can grow your own audience. And then when you're going to these labels to say, right now, let's do this, you've got a lot more, let's say, bargaining power, because you've built a following, you've got an audience, you're getting X million views each month on your content. You've already built a fan base, so, and it's free to do. TikTok, Instagram, all free to start. So, if I was going to be a musician this day and age, I'd be all in on TikTok or Instagram.
No, I agree with you, because it takes the power away from them. But
it does. Yeah,
it's like a CV, isn't it? At the end of the day, and back then your tactics are done through persuasion. You know, take a chance on me. Take a chance. I swear to God, I'll sell 1 million albums. Listen to me sing. But fucking, so true, no, you don't have to. It's there. Just log into Instagram and search me.
Look how many followers. My comments. There's a guy, he's a rapper, and he actually did it on. I was following his story. Actually, he's self-promoted through TikTok.
What's his name? Suko.
I'm not sure of his name. I'd find out. It'll be on my history. He does a YouTube video on it, and he's like,
Ross.
No, I won't remember. I'll find out though. But anyway, he self-promotes, self-produces his album, and he ships and that. And because of his story, people are buying his physical albums through TikTok and that, because they want to support him. And like, he's built this huge following, and he's like showing people you can do it on your own. This is how you can use TikTok. This is how you can use Instagram. So
yeah,
it's changing, I think.
Is it that dude?
Nah.
He does exactly what you just explained, and he'll talk to the camera and do shorts explaining exactly how.
Yeah.
He's not a stingy guy. He's like, this is what I do. Do you know what I mean? It's independent. It reminds, what our conversation there reminded me of a video I used to love. It. It's on YouTube. It's 21 Pilot's song called "Ode to Sleep," right? And they sort of documented their career from the beginning. So they're in a small, it looks like a primary school assembly hall, right? And they're standing on stage and they're singing a song that's called "Ode to Sleep," and they got their masks on and they're dancing around how they do, 10 people in the crowd, right? And then it cuts to like a narrator talking about them a bit, and then the next one you see them, they go into like a nightclub, like an underground nightclub, and it's like about 200 people. But the song plays throughout the whole video and transitions to them. They obviously had it in their set list for so many years that when it came to like the 3-minute YouTube song version, they had this video cut up of them playing it in front of 10 people to 200. So you want to see the last stage, man. It's so good. It's brilliant. It's such a lovely watch. They're a really good band. But yeah, so back to ticket prices. It's just disgusting, man. But we'll move on. So we've got in the bank Tate, which if you have a bit of info, I missed that.
No, only an update. He didn't get released. So yesterday, I think they were going to. They were assessing the case again to see whether he was going to be released or extended, and they deferred it till today. And then today they denied his release, and he is another 30-day extension. He was in jail for another 30 days. Still no charges for him, his brother, or the other 2 people that he was in jail with.
Andrew Tate is from where?
I think he
is a citizen. Sorry, of who?
He's an American citizen. He's got an American passport, but he's also British, I think, because his dad's American. So I think by having an American parent, you by default get an American passport. I might be wrong there. And then he grew up in the UK in Luton. So
at what point do the British government or the American government say, hey,
well, that's it,
give him back?
So I don't know how true it is, but there was rumours that the American government got involved. So that's why everyone was hyped, saying this is his release. That the American embassy have been involved, been in touch, and to help out, but he's not been released. Strange system in that you can be held without being charged for 4 months now.
So if that's a system that is actually taking place, then what is happening to people who aren't as popular as Andrew?
Who don't have the money to hire the top lawyers that he's got. Who
don't have the voice.
The voice
the
unknown.
Platform.
Crazy.
Yeah, could just be in there rotting.
And you'd never know.
You would never know. You'd have no clue whatsoever, right?
Mm.
So it's happening to him. It's happened to his brother. And surely they have to put something into place here, right? You've got a court date for an actual trial, or we're releasing it.
Yeah, I don't. It's a Romanian criminal system. I'm not entirely sure what the rules are, but what they're doing is within the law. The judges have the right to keep extending by 30 days. I don't know how long they can do this. I don't think it's indefinitely. Like, they can just keep doing it. But yeah, we'll see.
I've seen some videos of him. His hair's growing back. He can't shave his hair.
There's this class meme. There's a video of him saying, "I'm bald by choice.
Yeah,
I've got hair. I just choose to be bald." And then everyone's obviously seen his hair since he's been in jail.
Yeah, the internet's lapping that one.
The audacity to say you were bald by choice.
Yeah, it's fucking funny because it is well patchy as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like, oh man, you got caught out there a bit. But then I think, I like that though, because that also shows you maybe he is a bit of a character. Do you know what I mean? He's playing somebody as well. Don't know. I want South Park to do some shit on him.
They will. They have to. He's been the news for like the last year. All the news, all the hit pieces, and that he's been over YouTube's, TikTok, Instagram.
Do you think he goes straight on social media and lets a little rant?
Tweeting. I think someone's tweeted on his behalf. He's like, in the article I read about his release not being released, it said like he's tweeting about the conditions in the prison, 1 meal a day because he's fasting because he's converted to
Ramadan
to Islam. But yeah, it's so no real update. But it's another 30 days till we find out what's going to happen to him.
Yeah, well, we'll make sure, like, when the day he does get released, we'll
do a pod.
We'll do a pod and we'll talk about it.
They reckon it's going to be, I think they were saying
when
that
it kicks off.
He'll do a live stream, and they're like predicting it would be like the biggest live stream ever. He'd break the record. Everybody would tune in.
Yeah, that'd
hear what he's got to say. Because that's the problem. Well, not the problem, but he's a good speaker. He speaks very well. He's intelligent.
One of the like attractions of watching him, isn't it?
Yes, that's why he's been so popular. But we'll see.
Cool.
So where's next?
So next one we've got. So right, I wanted to look at and discuss why prison sentences or consequential sentences seem so lenient towards people like paedophiles. When drug-related sentences or something maybe of a similar nature seem to have a much more severe sentencing. And the reason this came up is because of where we're from, right? So last week in the news, it was 2 different incidents. I'll give you a brief overview, and then I'll hit you up with some facts, right? So there's a drunk driver in Jersey, didn't hurt anyone, just drove his car drunk. There has to be consequences for that, right? But this guy got 5 months in prison over here. A day later, the senior education department official of Jersey, whose job is to safeguard children, literally the protection of children is his job, got sentenced to 15 weeks in prison for child pornography images, over 300 different ones that he downloaded over the course of 4 months. All while walking in and out of schools and sitting with children and being around children on 2 different devices at his home. So he knew exactly what he was doing. He knows full well that, again, supply and demand, right? The more people that want these type of images, the more obscene and disgusting situations children have to go through in the pursuit of that want, that need, right? So that there's the opposite of looking after and protecting children, right? And it's disgusting. And that's one of the thing I think every society has in common. It's always been quite a nice thing to see, is that everyone hates pedophiles. Everyone hate every single person would string up a pedo and just, you know, doing it. But what I'm trying to get at is those sentences were a day apart, right? How did that drink driver who hurt nobody get a lot longer in prison? So I said, so he was a motorist who drove with 3 passengers in his car while at least twice over the legal drink drive limit, has been jailed for 5 months. The judge sentenced him, said this was a tragedy that nearly happened. The man had driven along a road and all of them had been drinking. No one was hurt, right? He said the reason he was there, right, in Jersey, because he has a daughter with a partner, and that partner was terminally ill. Before he got sentenced, that partner actually passed away. So now he's got to be sitting in a prison cell for drink driving while he's grieving. And he quite admirably left the court and told everyone in the court, the judge and that, I'm so sorry for wasting your time. So that seems like quite a genuine human being to me, right? And maybe you could have some leniency because look what he's going through. My mental health would be insanely crippled if I'd lost the person I loved and then I was put in a room to wallow in it and think about it for 5 months and not be able to look after my daughter and stuff like that. Yet you have this man, a senior education department official, has been sentenced to 15 weeks in prison after admitting downloading hundreds of indecent images of children from the internet. He was sentenced in the magistrates, blah, 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 blah. Police executed a warrant under the Protection of Children's Law at the address in October when officers seized digital devices owned by this man. I'm not going to name anyone. The states of Jersey police recovered a total of 357 images on 2 different devices between June and October last year. So if you're a paedophile, right, or you have paedophilic intentions and you're thinking of breaking the law, or you're thinking of capitalizing on your urges or your desires, and you go and you look at the law and the news and articles and court and the Bailiwick Express, and you see the person who done this before you and got caught is being in prison, and he's out of prison and he's just living a normal life and he hasn't been removed from society. What sort of deterrent is that for you to say, I don't want to do that, or I'm not going to do that because I don't want to be put in prison for 10, 15 years of my life and waste my life? If that's what the sentencing is, I'm not going to do that, right? That's a great deterrent. If you see that somebody has done a stint in prison for 2 minutes, what sort of deterrent is that? And not only that, actually, why would a victim come forward where light hasn't been shown on one of these like predators to say, right, so I'll have to go to court, I'll have to let all my family know, all my friends will know, maybe the media will know. So obviously there's anonymity, but in some cases a lot of people are going to have to find out, and I'm going to have to go through something very stressful. Why would I go through that if the person that I'm trying to consequence will not even be taken away from me, will still be in my society, I'll still see him walking around? It's like,
yeah, there's 2 angles there, isn't there? It's like, and I don't think this is an exception. This is like quite common in the sentencing for that type of thing, isn't it? It's usually quite almost lenient for paedophilia or like child abuse images and things like that. It's all the sentences seem to be very lenient compared to other crimes.
In the grand scheme of criminality, is heinous, is one of the worst. It's just like, that should be the top of the list of sentences where you need to make examples of.
It's a deterrent, isn't it? You need to like, yeah, it's such a. You'd think the sentences would be the most severe of them all to deter people from even thinking about it. Where, like you say, have you seen the Louis Theroux documentary on this? On paedophilia?
If it's a few years old.
Quite strange, mate. It's a really different way of looking at paedophilia. But like, it's there's a rehab center for paedophiles, and they identify themselves to the clinic, and they say, look, I have these urges, I don't want to act on them, help me. And like, by having very lax sentencing, how many people have those small urges that they wouldn't ever act on if they thought there was the risk of going to prison for a life sentence and no chance of ever walking the streets again, yeah? It would probably completely put them off. Whereas, like you say, if it's a 5-week sentence, it's then like, well, it's not that bad. Maybe I'll just do it once and then
That's precisely it.
happens.
And the ball's rolling.
Yeah, but that Louis Theroux documentary was a weird one. It was he went to visit the clinic and tried to understand it, and it was like people had self-booked them in to this place because they had the urges, and it's like they were kind of shining a light on there should be more places like this to take these people off the streets as soon as they know that they're inclined that way. Otherwise, they will end up either downloading the images or more serious crimes, child abuse and things like that. So really strange perspective that I'd never thought of before, in that these should be treated as like sick people, not just left to try and fight the urges themselves. And it was such a like...
I've seen the documentary.
It was quite conflicting. I was like, how do I feel about this, you know?
Yes, because these are people that haven't done anything.
But they openly say, you know, I'm inclined that way. I have urges.
And help me before it's too late. Because it is obviously, well, of course it's taboo, because no one's ever going to walk around admitting that talk about that or...
And like, you wouldn't seek help because you have to admit that you are that. Unless it's like, and I'm not saying normalise it, but this is the whole argument of the documentary. Unless it becomes almost like, let's say, normalised for people to admit themselves to these clinics to get the help they need and keep them away from causing any harm from anywhere else, they won't do it because, like you say, it's taboo. Like, it's absolutely taboo. You're not going to self-admit you're you have those urges. So it was like, again, how do you fix the problem? Nobody... It's like you say, it's the most hated thing. There's one thing that everybody agrees on is this, that it is absolutely horrendous. So how do you solve the issue? How do you stop it? And like you say, weak sentencing does not help at all. And in this Louis Theroux documentary, it's like shone a new light on it for me. It's like, should there be more options for people who are inclined that way? Because it was crazy. He's like, they're born with it. He's like, you can make the argument it's not their fault. Their fault is that they act on it, but like they can't help their sexual desires. And it was like, holy shit, I've never thought of it that way.
Is that what he says? I wonder how true that is, though, because I do feel you can condition yourself to enjoy other things. I guess the seed there comes within your mind, unwillingly, but it's what you do with that seed. Right?
It's acting on it.
Whether you want to water it.
Yeah.
If you're looking in wrong places or you're searching wrong places, then you're pouring water on that seed and it's going to grow and develop, and then you're more inclined to actually go towards it. It's up to you to nip it in the bud.
And I think that's the argument they make. It's like the people that were booking themselves into these clinics were at that point where it was just the seed, but they knew that if they were left on their own, it would be hard for them not to act on it, right? So they went and I think they did the right thing. They took themselves away from society and they stay in this secure location where they're not allowed out. They don't have access to the internet, stuff like that. But you're right. It's such a it's the acting part, isn't it? Acting on that impulse.
Because it is hard, I guess, if that's where your desires are. But it's not impossible.
No, you're right.
It is your fault entirely. Because you're an adult and you know better, and you can fight urges. Oh, yeah.
But then, like, I think one of the points was like depression. That's like also a mental, what's it called, application or something. But anyway, it's like a mental illness, and let's say paedophilia is a mental illness, but the obviously symptoms are different. One is like, you can't control your urges. One is you can't control your sense of well-being, your mood and stuff. But because one is such a heinous crime if you ever act on it, but if you're just depressed, it's like you're not hurting anybody as such.
Sure.
It's treated very differently. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It is. But I don't. Is that mental health or is that like a fetish? I think there's a blurry line. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like having depression and then having fetishes, and your fetish just being a disgusting illegal one, it's like, I don't know if we can class that as. But then I don't know how the brain works.
Crazy, yeah. This is it. Like, you don't know what it's like to be that person. So, like, is it just you have like a intrusive thought once a month, and it's like, and that's all it is. And but some people lean into that, some people don't. Or is it this burning, like whatever it is inside you, this like forbidden thing? So you'll never know.
And how uncontrollable is the urge?
This is it, yeah. I
it
don't think you can absolve yourself from responsibility ever for acting on it, like you said. It's just the severity of which your impulses. But it was like this crazy documentary. It's worth watching if you haven't. It's pretty strange. Louis Theroux, classic Louis Theroux, like the way he kind of.
I think is there like
himself in
a
the
clip with
situation.
him out on sitting on a bench having a chat in like a woodland sort of
Maybe,
area talking
yeah.
to the guy. And do they give the guy like, I don't even like saying this out loud, like a small doll in one of the clips?
I can't remember.
Like either hold or like be in the presence of. It's like a mock sort of.
I can't quite remember.
Anyway, what we'll do is, because I hate talking about it, and what we'll do is we'll try look at now. So why do you think then, like marijuana, is getting people 5 years in the nick?
Yeah, I think that's just old laws. You know, like this whole war against drugs that's then become like, actually, drugs aren't as bad as we thought when we put these laws in place, but undoing all those laws.
That's one of the things I wrote down. Do you think because out of the general consensus back in the day of, weed is the devil, it will completely alter your mind, or drugs will alter your mind to a point where you're like, you turn crazy or you're evil, so all these laws are put in place now. And then the people that are politicians now, I guess, look for grey old men or whatever. And we just haven't changed it. We haven't regressed. We need to regress and then start again and go forward again. Because it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
Someone should be getting 5 years.
I think it's takes so long to almost like unwind it, pass the new laws, do the studies, get all the evidence. So, yeah, I imagine it's a bit of that as well.
It's funny because a guy on Facebook under the school teacher article about what we just spoke about said, I got longer in prison for resisting arrest.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It should be like you say, it should be the highest sentences, the biggest deterrent, because that's the only option you have, isn't it? Available to you. If you commit this crime, you will receive the most severe punishment, life sentence, automatic life sentence with no chance of bail or parole, or whatever it's called.
Very harsh sentences.
Yeah.
Or do we take it medieval and get barbaric again?
Well, it's still death penalty in some places, in America.
And maybe rightly so. But yeah, it'd be good to know. So I found this comment online and I thought, I'm going to include this today. It's very tinfoil hat, very like conspiracy-esque. But I was trying to search, why is drugs the sentencing up here and why is it less here? So food for thought, I wrote. So paedophilia has very little economic impact. And so the big businesses who rule the country have very little interest in it one way or another. Drugs, however, is a big threat to their profit margins. The tobacco, alcohol, and big pharma industries are threatened by drug abuse since it is taking money away from their own products. Similarly, drug users in general don't make good workers, so it's not about justice, fairness, or right and wrong. It's about who really runs the country and what their priorities are.
Wow. What's your thoughts on that?
I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Doesn't it?
It does make a lot of sense. You criminalize and put away all the drug dealers and the drug takers and the drug smokers.
And you do very severe sentencing so that it's a deterrent for people to even go down that route.
There you go. If they're all in prison and they're not out in the world, then we can keep here's all the pills, here's all the Xanax, here's all this fucking sertraline, citrillopram, blah, 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 blah. It goes on, the list goes on and on and on and on and on, and Valium and whatnot. Because that makes millions and millions and millions and billions a year, right?
We should do an episode on that, actually. The drug pandemic in America. Legal prescription drugs.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But sorry, go on.
No, that's it really.
But yeah, it's a interesting.
It's an interesting take.
Thought on what the. Yeah.
Anyway, that's made me depressed.
It's a brutal topic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a brutal topic, and
but you're right. Like, I don't think this is the first time that this has come out where people have compared sentences.
Okay, yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I saw this on my own, right? And I came to this discussion we're having on my own, and I wanted to bring it up to you. Then when I went on the news today, I'm obviously not the only person with this mindset, right? With that exact thing, that this sentence for this teacher. So it's been in the news that apparently they're gonna re-look at the sentencing laws for it. Let me just try to find it. I'll be just be 2 seconds.
Yeah, make them more. There should just be like an automatic 10 years or automatic life sentence. That's the only deterrent, isn't it? It's like...
Yeah, that's it. Just nip it in the bud. It's obvious. It's right there. It's in black and white. We're a democratic society and we abide by laws, right? There you go. So we know what to do. But I'll read this out. Calls for a review of sentencing guidelines for sexual offences after an educational official who downloaded hundreds, blah, 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 had been echoed by the acting children's commissioner. Listen to this. The sentence has been criticised by former Children's Minister Sam Mezek, Jersey's #1 politician, man of the people, who said it was shameful that Berry was only given 15 weeks. He added, he was lucky he wasn't caught with some cannabis because then he might have been given a proper sentence. And I think that's quite a good thing to say out loud to the media when you're, when you're in such a high position. And he said, it is utterly ridiculous that we give such high sentences to people who have small amounts of cannabis, but such pitiful sentences to people who create demand for these grotesque images of children which cause children immense suffering. This is not a victimless crime. And then the Children's and Education Minister said, okay, what we'll do is we'll review who gets DBS checks. So that's like police checks before you have a job. And Sam Mezek said, well, what's the point in that? Because that man would have
passed.
He had no criminal history. Yeah. So he would have passed.
So how does that help the situation?
Exactly. So it's being called for a review because I think... And isn't it a shame it takes something like that? What are these smart asses that are in the position of power that can't actually see that for themselves? And it's like, do you really think that was just going to go under everyone's nose? That we weren't going to notice that you just sentenced someone to 15 weeks?
And it's like, he should have been made an example of because of his position, his position of authority in education, which is around kids. That's like the prime example where you would go above the normal sentencing to say, we are making an example of you. You worked in education, you had a position of authority, your role was protect the children, and you were found with indecent images.
You must be a carpenter, mate, because you just hit the nail on the head. Like, that is exactly it, word for word, everything Ben just said. Yeah. That's how we'll round that one off. He should have been made an example of because of who he was and the position of power that he held. Perfect. Cool. So we do have one more to go on before we wrap it up. It's been a bit of a free-for-all. We got no topic of the week, and that is because none of us are sure. We just don't, all right? So the last one is, and we could probably get a little bit of laugh out of this, so it's the prison inmate called Charles Bronson who...
Born Michael Gordon Peterson. Did you know that Charles Bronson's not his real name?
No, I didn't. Yeah. I did know it was not his real name, but I didn't know that was his real name. It's in the movie trailer, actually, where he says his real name is. So he has been in prison since 1974. At the age of 22, he robbed a post office, I believe. And so that was a lot of years ago if we're in 2023, and he's still in prison now. He had a parole hearing this week, today actually, and they rejected it, so he has to stay in prison. He's been sentenced to, it's called I don't know, it's like precautionary life sentence or something along those lines, which means he's been sentenced to like life indefinitely under these particular circumstances. And the reason that is because every time he's in the prison, he's fighting, he's up to mischief, and I don't know, do you have anything on it? Because
so he was, what's crazy is he was only originally sentenced to 7 years. And I think they said he would have served probably 5, but because he got up to so much in prison, he's been in prison for 50 years or around 50 years. You know how many times they've had to move in prison?
How many?
120 times.
Wow. God, so he's a bit of a pain in the arse, right?
But isn't it funny how, yeah, like he's a criminal, right? He done an armed robbery. He's like, I think he stabbed people in prison, fighting guards. He strangled one of the governors. But he's like idolized now because of Hollywood and the film Tom Hardy did on him.
Yeah.
Like he's a British icon.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Charles Bronson.
Exactly, mate. It's because he's a maverick, isn't he? He's his own thing. He's got that character. about him.
Anti-establishment, kind of. Yeah.
And he's a character, like.
Yeah.
He's a. So, yeah, this is the things that he done. He was. Just a year later, he attacked 2 inmates, sentenced to Liverpool, then he was sentenced to Hull. There he assaulted several others from 1978 to 85. Around this time, he was moved to different institutes, spent over 14 years in another prison, started taking people hostage all the time, took a prison guard hostage for a couple of days, staged a rooftop protest at Broadmoor, has held 11 people hostage on 9 different occasions. So he's classified as Britain's most dangerous prisoner. Oh yeah, then in 1989 he went on his infamous naked prison riot after using a broken broom and bottle to create a makeshift spear. There's another time where he stored up like tubs and tubs of butter and then buttoned the cell all up. So when it came to time to having a scrap with all the prison guards, none of them could really get
nice and lubed up. Yeah,
because he was just slipping and sladding.
Do you think he like needed prison? Like he just needed to be. He didn't want to go out. Like he was just needed that routine or structure. Like to do all of those things, you're just asking to be banged up for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
maybe he's like an abstract painter now as well, and he like poetry. Yeah,
so he said in his parole hearing, and this, bearing in mind this man's trying to get out, and he said, "I've had more porridge than Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I just want to go home." I just thought that you're a funny bastard, man, because you're there to impress, right? So if I was to walk in there,
suited,
being in prison, I'm suited and booted, I've got to stick up my arse, I'm putting on a fake voice. You know, it's that job interview time, isn't it?
Yeah, job interview.
It's bum lick o'clock.
I wonder if he actually thought he was getting out. I wonder if he'll ever. I don't think he'll. How old? He's 70 something.
He's 70 years old. Come on.
What trouble can he cause at that age?
Says, I used to be a horrible man who couldn't stop taking hostages. Now I've learned to switch off with deep breathing while listening to birds sing.
Have you seen the film?
Yeah, I did once upon a time. We're going to try to watch it again tonight. But 50 years in prison.
That's what I mean. It's a long time to be in prison, eh? You just get used to that, and it's like it becomes your life. You don't know any different.
No, you don't. So yeah. So I don't know when he can next apply for parole. I don't know if it's like 4 years or it's a certain amount of time, but it would be good to just see him released, because this is the thing, right? They don't release him because they think he's a threat to the public. That's basically what the excuse is. He could still be a threat to the public, so we don't want to put him out there. But you have means of looking out for someone. Ankle monitors.
Yeah. They can do like half house as well. He's got to check in every day.
Half houses. So he's not even an open prisoner. He's on his own. So even just to put him back in general population to see. I don't know. That's not a good idea, because someone with that amount of infamy, everyone would be going for you just because you're famous, right? Let me have a
I hit Bronson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in that sort of like masculine environment, where it's good to show off. But he's got a wife and that, so just let him out, see his family, see his wife, get on with his life. If he makes a mistake, then he signed his own.
Back in. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because like the crimes he's committed. Do the crime, you got to be prepared to do the time. So, but it's the same with like when you see these criminals like drug dealers and that, like these. I can't remember the name. He's a big famous drug dealer, but he got to like 70. He was terminally ill, and they were like, his lawyers were trying to get him to be released, to die outside of prison. And there was that whole conflict and argument, like, you know what I mean? He's leader of a drug cartel that's done some horrific, or he maybe not personally did them, but responsible, his cartel, for some horrific crimes. But he's now a 70-year-old man, terminally ill. He's got family that aren't going to see him and that. should he be released to go and die outside of prison, or should he die in prison because of what he did?
Nah, that's where the regulations come into play, the leniency. You've took away someone's freedom, right?
Does it depend on the crime?
Does it?
Like what we were talking about before. What if it was that?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
such a difficult one. Like, this is where again it's subjective. It's like a grey line.
It will always be a grey line.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So should we wrap that up here?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Nice one, mate.
Perfect. No worries, man.